For those of you that don't know me, my name is Brian Bledsoe. I'm the chief meteorologist at KKTV here in Colorado Springs, and I was asked to do this and be a part of this, and it's preparedness in general is something that's very close to me and very important to me. So when Liz and Egta asked me to be a part of this, I was thrilled, and I think it's great that the business owners are being so proactive about helping protect their business and be prepared for really anything that can happen. And as you'll see here today with the various panelists that we have, anything really can happen to your business, and it's a very good idea to be prepared for that. So we have a lot of great information for you here today. We're running a little bit behind, but that's okay. We'll get back on track. I'm going to be moderating and obviously emceeing, so we'll kind of give a little bit of a rundown after that when we get ready to start with our first panel. But to get things going this morning, I want to give it to SBDC State Director Kelly Manning. She's going to open us up today. Kelly.
So thank you all for coming, and this is our second annual Business Protection Summit down here. We are looking to expand and grow these statewide. Obviously in Colorado, it is going to be a norm, for us, and unfortunately, I might have mentioned this last year for people that were here from last year, is we've gotten really good at helping businesses with disaster, and there's some good and bad that comes along with that. But it is something that we will continue to make sure our business community is supported and make sure that the resources are available for you. The SBDC network is a statewide network that helps businesses proactively to grow their business, to start a business, or to reach out and advance into different areas. This happens to be one that we're talking about on preparedness and talking about not so much on the recovery side, although that's always going to be something that we're going to be working on, but how do we help the businesses move forward to be prepared to ensure that in case another disaster happens, and unfortunately down in this area you've had your fair share between fires and flooding and fires and more flooding. So, somebody had made a comment that unfortunately Colorado is one lightning strike away from another disaster. And we want to make sure that you as business owners are truly prepared. We have tremendous resources, and we can't do this alone. So you see the sponsorship that's up there, but I just want to make sure that everybody fully understands with KKTV and Channel 11, Colorado Springs Business Journal, Sixth and Giving, CenturyLink, which is our corporate sponsorship, City of Colorado Springs, UCCS College of Business, and of course the county, El Paso County. This program that we're running here is a true public-private partnership. We get federal money, our SBA partners, and again, we cannot do this without our partners, and SBA is here today, and you're going to hear from Ed Cadena in just a few minutes, but we get federal funds down, and those federal funds are then dispersed statewide. Your community partners have stepped up to ensure that your business community has these resources. And again, El Paso, UCCS, and other sponsors that you have here, why we're able to put these things on and to move forward. One of the things that I always try to say is that the Colorado SBDC network tries to create a positive culture. So that positive culture in the definition is intentional way of supporting all people within the communities that focuses on creating a healthy relationship and acknowledging the unique gifts that each brings to that relationship. So the SBDC identifies that each business, each and every one of you are unique. We want to make sure that we are proactively helping you one-on-one or in training sessions or in events such as this with your unique gifts that give back to the community. We are truly a give back program. We do not give you money. We do not provide resources at no cost, although they are no cost. Taxpayer dollars are allowing us to be able to do this, but to be able to teach you and to run your own business and to actively get that help and resources for you business owners to be independent and to be successful. That's why we're here, and that's what the positive culture is all about. So the statistics talk about 46% of businesses fail, and there's reasons why businesses fail. And some of those reasons are emotional pricing, no knowledge of pricing, lack of planning, no knowledge of financing, and maybe no experience in record keeping. We provide all of those resources to make sure that that 46% is not you. We want to make sure that we are able to help you, to teach you, to have that knowledge, to make those educational decisions and to make those right choices, because we'll never tell you a choice is right or wrong. We're here to provide the information to make that right choice. So just to talk a little bit about disaster and to help those businesses, since 2012, we really have stepped up to the plate in helping those businesses. And to give you a little bit of numbers that our state has done, Colorado Springs has been hugely important to disaster recovery, preparedness, and I can't give a bigger thank you and shout out to Eiktha and Liz, who's in the back. Ron is doing consulting for us to help with the disaster and the preparedness and the recovery process down here in this region. But in the last 3 years, in 2012, we had 41 clients, and then in 2014, we had over 200 clients. Kind of tells you a little bit of how we're moving in that direction. We went from 83 sessions, so our one-on-one consulting sessions, to over 1,000 consulting sessions. Again, putting those resources in, and then talking about the amount of time, contact, and prep time that we spend. We went from 93 hours to 1,600. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea. Also, in 2012, helping $5,000 in impact of helping businesses to $9.9 million in capital that we worked with the businesses to help them raise for the recovery purposes. And then talking about 5 jobs retained to almost 200 jobs retained. So what that's saying is working with those businesses to stay in business to keep those employees. So, and that's really why we're here and why we want to help these businesses. Is anybody a new business in here? So there's a couple of you. Then I would just make the assumption the rest of you are existing businesses. So to work with those existing businesses to retain those employees and work with those brand new businesses to create jobs. We want to ensure that your community is successful. We want to make sure your businesses are successful. Our little tagline is your success is our success. So we want to tout you, and we want to make sure that whatever we do moving forward, that we're helping you move in that positive direction. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming today. And one last fun thing I'd like to just throw out there to you is you all understand the importance of this event. Whether we call it a Business Protection Summit, whether you have grabbed our continuity guide that we have on the tables, which is, by the way, is a really great resource. But there's a lot of people out there that maybe don't see the importance. There's a quote is, it's not a disaster until a disaster hits. Well, we want to make sure that your business doesn't get affected by that disaster. We want you to prepare for that. So with your help, and I just kind of thought about this morning, is I'd like to have some participation from the audience on maybe renaming this event for future events on what you think would be an exciting name to get businesses to understand the value of preparedness in maybe recovery, unfortunately. But what would be a really great name that would be exciting to get people to come to this event in the future? We will come up with the best name for the conference in the future. It will be recognized. We'll go in our newsletter, both on our statewide as well as our national newsletter that we have. And also we'll come up with a gift, a reward for the best naming. I don't know what that is yet, but I'll come up with something. But it'll be good. I promise it'll be good. So what I would like is if you can think and be creative about thinking about a new name for future summits, because we are going to start doing this statewide. It could be Show Me the Money, or just something along those lines. But something fun, and I'd love to have your participation as well. So I want to throw that out there. Alex and Joey are at the front desk. You can write your name down and potentially the name for the summit. We'll put it in a bowl, and we'll look at it, and we'll announce it after this event is over. But thank you all for being here. It is my pleasure to introduce Ed Cardina, who is the District Director for SBA, and just a few little tidbits on Ed. He's been with SBA for over 20 plus years, and before that, he was with FDIC for over 20 years, so he's got to be at least 120, to be in federal government for that long. Before that, he was the district director in Las Vegas. And just to say, he said he left the worst economy to come to the best economy. So we love Ed coming here. He's a great supporter. And I just want to thank SBA and thank Ed for being here today. Thank you.
Good morning. I haven't been around that long, but I feel like it at times. Anyway, my name is Ed Cadena. I'm the district director for the SBA. My staff and I have been here all week celebrating Veterans Week. And so what I'd like to do before we get started is, how many veterans do we got here today? Let's give them a round of applause and thank you guys for your service. Here's hoping you have a wonderful, wonderful Veterans Day, and we appreciate you standing up for us and doing everything that you do. Wanted to talk to you about disaster preparedness for businesses. The SBA, we have a program we call ourselves 3 C's and a D, and usually the D is me, but this time it's disaster. And what we talk about more importantly is making sure that you have business continuity. Ironically, Tuesday, we spent our whole day, Tuesday and Wednesday, going over continuity of what happens if the SBA and the offices go down. And it became very obvious, apropos that I'm coming to talk to you folks, because it's the exact same thing that we got to do here. It's, as Kelly said, it's not a disaster till it happens, but if you're not ready, it's a disaster. So let me just real quickly, we want to get caught up and get everybody back up to speed, so I'm going to go through some of these things here. A worn out pipe could be a disaster. It could create a flood. So pay attention to the stuff like that. But what we got to do is have disaster for business. Some of the things that you look at, what happens if your business fails? Where are you going to go? Where's your place? According to the Institute of Small Business, 25% of businesses that close after a disaster never reopen. Yes, that's 25%. That's a pretty big number. We realized in Katrina, when we had all the thousands of businesses that closed, never reopened. So it's very important that you pay attention to the small things, like what happens to your business, where are you going to go? If your business goes away, your space goes away, on First Street, do you have something like at home? Can you telework? Do you have another place to go? Those are things that you need to be paying attention to. And you have to pay attention to it before, and therefore the disaster won't be compounded. The other thing that we're looking at is companies that had plans, they still struggled and struggled mightily. However, that percentage went down to about 5%. So that tells you that even with a plan doesn't mean that you're going to make it all the time. The other thing is facilities, your facilities and your operations. Can you do your business somewhere else? That's the key thing. It's like, are you a service industry? Do you have inventory? That kind of stuff. Can you do that somewhere else? And nobody knows that but you. Do you have a backup? Do you have a CFO? That kind of stuff. What do you have? Remember, one of the things that happens to restaurants and places, what's one of the first things that happens when there's a disaster? Power, exactly. So can you figure out, get some, do we have a generator or something of that nature? The beauty of today's world is you can get generators fairly inexpensively, so pay attention to stuff like that. The other big thing that's out there that's happened, and that's why the SBA is there and the government's there, and we always get dinged consistently, well, the government comes in and they don't do enough. And, the point is, you know, we have low-level areas. We know we're basically, as Kelly said, we're a lightning strike. When I came here from Vegas, I went to a meeting that it came May 19th of this year, and I went to a meeting at Nellis Air Force Base, and I was like, holy crap, I'm going to Colorado, and they're expecting the worst fire season in the history of the world. I mean, I was like, holy crap, between here and New Mexico, it's just going to burn down. And I get here, I get over the Vail Pass, it's snowing, and it never stopped raining for like 3-4 months, you know? So I was like, so we dodged the bullet this year. That's one thing I want people to understand. We dodged the bullet this year. You go around, you see the bark beetle out there, we got one lightning strike, and God save us all. So with that knowing that that's the possibility in this beautiful state, insurance is the next big issue that we have. And insurance is, make sure that you're paying attention to the type of insurance that you need. It's, what kind do we got? Business continuity. Talk to your insurance agents. Find out what it is that you need. Do we really need earthquake insurance here? Probably not, but do we need fire insurance? Absolutely. Do we need flood insurance? I don't have to tell you that. You guys lived through it. So these are the types of things you really need to get into. And you should contact your, business interruption insurance. If something happens and you're going to be out of business for 30 days, how many of you can survive 30 days, no income and no possibility of getting to your business? Those are the things you need to be paying attention to, because you might be able to get back to work in 30, 60, 90 days, but are you able to maintain everything else? Pay attention to that kind of stuff. I'm going fast, Kelly. Protect your vital information. One of the things is if we got a flood zone, folks, and you think that you're going to be someplace where there's flooding, one of the biggest problems that happen in a lot of places that we go to is people put their IT in the basement. Hello, not a good place if it's flooding. Let's get it up on the second floor. Let's get it somewhere. Now we have the cloud. Pay attention to that kind of stuff. Do you have a hard drive somewhere? Do you have a duplicate of a hard drive? Take that somewhere else. But be very, very careful about making sure that you duplicate in business. The most important thing is having your vital information. Folks, take that to your house. If something happens and your kids' birth certificates and all these kind of things, if you get separated, you got to prove things, you got to get your insurance. So always make sure that you have duplicate things. One thing we had a lady come in from the Denver emergency management system and told us something very simple, very, very simple. If you think that you're in a fire area or something of that nature, open up all your closets. Yes, I said your closets. And you don't have to clean them, but go through and open them up. Take your phone, take pictures of everything. That's going to be, and the purpose is you probably have more money sitting in your closet than you do outside your closets. Go into your garage, take those pictures, and then take them with you. If it burns down, it burns down, but at least if you have insurance, that's how you're going to prove what you have. Inventory is one thing, but pictures are worth 1,000 words. That's something that's very simple. And one of the most important things, whether it's at home, and it's probably the most important thing, whether you're at home or at work, is communication. What I learned here in Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs is you've got one road going up to Teller County. Okay, if something happens, whether it's a flood, snow, fire, or what have you, you have to have a communication plan. You got to know where your kids are. You need to know where your wife and your employees are. That is something you need to talk about today when it's a beautiful day. I mean, this is why we live here, right? These beautiful days like today, I mean, there's no prettier place in the whole world. But we also recognize that if something happens, you need to get a hold of somebody. In a small thing, do a tree. Do a phone tree. Communication is key. People want to know where you are. You may not think that somebody loves you, but somebody does care for you, vice versa. You need to know where your loved ones are, and you need to know where your employees are. And your business partners. And guess what? A lot of you people are in business, and a lot of the things that you do, people are going to be relying on you if something happens to my business. If you're an excavator, I need to know where you are so that you can help me get back to my business. So the communication plan you have, first and foremost, is family first. Make sure you're there, your family's taken care of. And second is your employees. But this is a business community, folks. You're in business, so you want to know let your business partners know where you're going to be. And with that, those are the small things that we at the SBA work with every day. If you go to our SBA website and go to disaster and disaster planning, we have a checklist of a lot of things that you can do. Talk to our SBDCs here. It's very important. We have a beautiful sunny day in Colorado. It is beautiful, but one thing we know, it's not if something is going to happen, it's when. So let's be prepared. And I like the acronym SOS, and it's succeed, overcome. Yeah, I'll come up with the other S. Thank you very much. You guys are great.
Thanks, Ed and Kelly, for talking about everything that we a lot of times think about, but the trouble with thinking about this stuff is we have to communicate it. And as a communicator that's been through these disasters here in Colorado Springs, it's challenging at times. And it's challenging because of what I like to call the law of normalcy. Just because something hasn't happened or something extreme hasn't happened doesn't mean that it can't happen. And to try to convey that to somebody is pretty hard for them to get around. Is it possible that the west side of Colorado Springs could shut down if we get a 5-inch rain on the burn scar? Absolutely. Is it possible you may not get to your home for an X amount of time? Absolutely. And a lot of people don't think about this. And I know you see how the term prepper is used now in daily life, right? How is it used? Yeah. You're a nut job if you're a prepper. It's used as a negative connotation. It's made fun of. And those guys are idiots until they're geniuses. Okay? That's how it's perceived. And it's absolutely the truth. And, you know, I'm not telling anybody to go out and do exactly what they're doing or build a bunker underground, for crying out loud. You don't have to go to those extremes necessarily to just make sure you yourself and your business is simply prepared. And that's a lot about what our first panel is going to be talking about, is communication and marketing. And I'll tell you a little story here. For being in the media, okay, whenever there's a problem up Highway 24, we have crews staging at various areas along 24 because our job is to tell the story. And it's my job in the afternoons when we have our meeting to tell people where to go to stage and what time they're going to be there. We had a city council person in Manitou Springs approach our crew last year and verbally accost them because they said we were killing their city. Now think about that for a second. We go from a year prior trying to get everybody in that city and on the burn scar to wrap their mind around what the potential was for them for the next 10 years. I think we did a fairly good job of that. And the fact is if you beat somebody over the head with that information long enough, it takes a certain amount of time for it to actually sink in. Then they actually have to see the event happen before it sinks in. I've been all over social media for the past 3 years talking about this stuff. And people still question of whether or not it will happen. Happened in Manitou Springs, but right over here on the west side of town, Mountain Shadows burned down. People forget about this stuff. They build, and they don't think it can happen again in a different form. And that's a problem right now with the city. From an infrastructure standpoint, if you have a catastrophic flood on the west side of town, all that's going to go into Fountain Creek. It's going to run by Drake. It's going to run down. I mean, I don't have to explain it. I don't have to draw you a picture. So from a communication standpoint, that's my biggest goal.